So we're told there's two numbers that if you add them up, they make -8. So start right off with two numbers that we don't know. X plus y, their sum makes -8. And then we're told that the product of the two numbers is -209. So that means multiply. X times, oops, that's not times. Write them next to each other. X times y equals -209. And so to find the two numbers, you have two variables and two equations. You've got to somehow combine the two equations to find an answer. So let's start with this top one up here. We can manipulate that a little bit. Why don't we subtract x from both sides? So now we have y equals something. Now you can make a substitution. Right in here, instead of y, I'm going to replace it with the parentheses, -8x minus x. Oops. I misspoke there. That's y, you replace it with -8 minus x. And so when you do that, now you just have one variable in an equation to deal with. You got an x in front of a parentheses, so distribute the x. That gives you -8x minus x squared. And that's a quadratic equation. Because there's an x squared, there's an x, and there's no x. So quadratics in general, you want to set them equal to 0 to solve. And since it's usually easier to solve when a equals +1, I'm going to move x squared over to this side. I'm going to move 8x over to this side by undoing it. So you can add x squared to both sides. Then at the same time, I'm also going to add 8x to both sides. So here's what it should look like after you do that. 0 equals x squared plus 8x minus 209. So when quadratics are set equal to 0, it's easier if you can factor them. Luckily, this is one where we can factor. Factoring a quadratic where a is 1, if you're out of practice at that, you just start off two parentheses with an x, and then you fill in two numbers that multiply to be -209, but add up to be 8. And how about 19 and -11? Because those multiply to be -209 specifically, and they add up to be +8. And factoring is always best because if you can factor it, then it's really easy to find the solution. You just tell me what it takes to make each parentheses equal 0. So x equals -19, x equals 11. Those are the two solutions. So those are the two numbers that they were looking for. Two numbers that add up to be -8, sorry. -19 plus 11, that does make -8. And their product is -209. -19 times 11, that does make -209.